Rosie O'Donnell,
What happened with that, guys?
talk show host,
There's no crying in baseball!
Why don't you leave her alone, Jimmy?
actress,
Familiar with stretch jeans? I bought them. Size 11, 12. I stretched them into a 15, 16, but,
comedian.
you know, the tag says 11, 12, and that's what's important, damn it.
For years, she was the Queen of Nice, a nickname she says never quite fit. But the last few years have brought many changes for Rosie. The woman who came into our living rooms every morning like a friend has become a stay-at-home mom. I had a rare opportunity to catch up with Rosie. We talked about her family, her childhood, and the moment she realized she was gay.
I didn't have a family to come out to. My mother died when I was 10. My father was not really present. We raised ourselves, essentially. And, you know, I told my sister when I was 18, I'm like, I think I'm gay. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah. She's like, how do you know? I'm like, I have a crush on Chris Salucci in college. You know, she's like, I guess that means you are. I'm like, yeah, let's go to friendlies.
While Rosie says that her sexuality wasn't that big of a deal, in the early 90s, it was a very big deal to be out in Hollywood.
This was before Ellen, you have to remember this. This was even before Melissa was out. You know, KD was sort of the first one of our friends, because we were all friends. We were all little young lesbians together in Hollywood. We used to have parties, and we all knew each other, and it was very, you know, fun to remember. And I remember KD came out, it was like the big thing, and everybody was, what's gonna happen? And we'd all call each other. And then Melissa came out. And well, Ellen and I remember talking with it, well, they're rock stars, it's different. I wasn't really willing to come out and say that I was gay until I knew I was with the person I was gonna be with forever.
And Rosie finally met that person in Kelly Carpenter. But while Rosie's siblings were accepting of them, Rosie's biggest challenge was winning over Kelly's conservative family. Kelly's mother was particularly tough.
When I met Kelly's parents, they were, you know, very anti-gay. They're very born-again Christian Southerners, and she told me that there was no way they would ever come to our house if they knew that we were a couple.
Never accept you.
Never, is what she said to me. But they've come, I have to say, when you think of where they started to where they are, it gives me hope for anyone. It's totally changed and altered their worldview, and I think opened them up in a way that they never expected.
Rosie still wasn't publicly out. She and Kelly, though, were in a committed relationship and living as a family. Rosie had already adopted a son, Parker, before meeting Kelly, and then the couple adopted 2 more children, Chelsea and Blake, and were also foster parenting a 5-year-old girl in Florida, where they were living. Rosie finally came out as a gay parent in March of 2002.
As you know, I'm a foster parent here in the state of Florida. I have a child through the...
She was motivated when the ACLU brought suit against the state of Florida for preventing homosexuals from adopting foster children. She was now an advocate and also a target, accused of having concealed her sexuality.
I felt sort of out, believe it or not. I thought everyone knew, too. You know, when I would say that I was in love with Tom Cruise, that people would say, well, that was all an act. It's not an act. I never said that I wanted to have sex with him. I said I wanted to come over and mow my lawn in a T-shirt and jeans and bring me lemonade.
But you also didn't say you had the hots for Angelina Jolie.
No, but I think if you watch the show, you could tell. No, you're right, and I think that's a fair argument. And when people would say that to me, I always would say, you know, the Tom Cruise was not a lie, but there was another part of the story that was left unsaid. And I don't really function in a level of sexuality, of sex, in general, gay or straight, kind of on the surface. I think that it's very internal for me. It's something that, you know, I don't see somebody and think, oh, look, I don't go to that. It doesn't go there for me.
A very private matter that was now being played out in public.
I didn't think at the time that it was that huge. Now, since coming out, I think it was huger than I realized, you know.
So you never made a calculation that if I come out, this is going to hurt my livelihood?
No, in fact, when I took the job in 1995 with the Warner Brothers for the talk show, I remember before I took it, I sat down with all the businessmen suits. I asked for a meeting of everyone, and I said to their faces, everyone at this room, I want you to know that I'm gay. I'm always going to be gay. It's not going to change. I'm not going to become ungay. I can't imagine ever saying it publicly, I don't feel the need to. But if it were to come out, I need to know that you would be all right with that and be supportive of me, because I will never deny it. And they all said, no, that's fine, and thank you for telling us.
That's a good one.
If you want to find out how to adopt, tomorrow's the day to watch the show.
What is the worst form of discrimination you suffered from once you came out of the closet?
The worst was not being allowed to adopt the foster child that we raised in Florida. We were told by our lawyer that we would have to perjure ourselves. We would have to lie and sign a form in the state of Florida, a form that says you are not now and have never been a homosexual in order to adopt a child, even a foster child that you raised. We were told that we were not allowed to adopt this child without
lying about
becoming
your
a felon.
identity.
Exactly.
Realizing they couldn't adopt that foster child, the couple was devastated. They wanted more children. But this time they chose instead for Kelly to give birth using donor sperm. Vivian was born in late 2002. Rosie was out. She was proud, and she was a gay mother of 4.
To say that it comes without problems is a lie. But to say that parenting for heterosexual families comes without problems is an illusion too.
But you have to acknowledge, Rosie, there are people out there who are fearful that gay parents are imposing their sexuality on their children.
Yes, and if you look at studies, every study that has ever been done shows that there are no greater percentage of gay children that come out of gay families. So although I know that it's frightening for some people, the ability to parent has nothing to do with your sexual orientation at all. In any way, your sex life with your husband has nothing to do with your ability to parent your children. And I will say that it brings different challenges to the lives of children who are raised by gay parents, but it also brings tremendous opportunity to learn about acceptance and tolerance and bigotry.
Even so, everyday life brings with it some very tough questions from her kids. This one from eldest son Parker.
He came over to me and he said, Mom, some people think it's bad that there's 2 mommies. And I said, I know. And he said, I think I'm one of those people. He was 5 years old.
And Mom said?
And I said, really? Why do you think that? He goes, because I think it's good to have a mom and a dad. I said, it is good to have a mom and a dad. A mom and a dad is a great family. But in this family, you have a mommy who wants another mommy. So in order for you to have a daddy, you would have to not have me as a mommy. And he sat and he thought, and it took like about a minute. He looked up and he said, well, I guess I'll just keep you then. I said, all right. There is that moment where you feel there is something that this child is not having because of me. My common theme with our kids is half empty, half full. You can the rest of your life be missing what you think is in that glass, or the rest of your life enjoy what is in there. It's your choice. And so it works for our family.
It's Vacation O'Donnell style.
Hi, Peanut!
But this family vacation, created by Rosie and Kelly O'Donnell, is anything but typical.
We refer to ourselves as a bunch of misfits,
A safe haven for gay families and those who love them. A week captured by HBO for a documentary, All Aboard, Rosie's Family Cruise.
But how do you think straight viewers will react to what unfolds on the screen?
I hope it will educate them. I hope it will, replace fear, ignorance with information. People are afraid of what they don't understand. The normalcy of the day, I think, is what shocks people most.
One of the more amazing things about this documentary is the rawness of emotions that you capture. And there's a scene where there is a straight mother of an adult gay daughter who, while expresses love for her daughter, makes it very clear she does not support her lifestyle.
Yes.
When my daughter became lesbian, I was assuming something. We were not happy. We were very hurt. My husband is still very hurt. But what am I going to do? She's still my daughter. We love her.
Yet she was on the cruise. So I think that the connection of a parent and child is bigger than any kind of internal bigotry that we might have as humans. The love and the bond between a parent and child is almost indestructible.
That indestructible bond is obvious in Rosie's own family, and we get a rare glimpse into her life in the film.
Kelly, you all right with her with this much lipstick on? Chelsea, can we blot the lipstick a little bit? Yeah, your shoes are on. You have to keep them on because we're going outside. Yeah. Want me to fix them?
Yes.
What do you think are some of the misconceptions straight people have about the values you're trying to impart to your children, and whether that involves imposing your sexuality?
Well, I don't think you can impose sexuality because, if you could, there would be no gay people, because it takes two straight people to make a gay person. Even Dick Cheney, the most Republican, and his very Republican wife, they made a gay child. 1 out of every 10 people is gay.
While most of the cruise was downright fun, there was some very unexpected conflict. When the boat docked in Nassau, families were met by a large, angry group of protesters.
You didn't really see the protest unfold until you watched the documentary for the first time because you didn't get off the boat. What was your reaction?
I felt a visceral response in my body. There was one man in particular, and he had very sad eyes, big sad eyes, and he's holding a Bible, and he turns right into the camera and he screams, "No!
No! No!
And the rage in this man and the hatred in his heart, I felt it physically. It was frightening most to think that, Parker said to me, "What are they protesting?" And I was like, well, they're protesting that we are.
He just was scared of the people, but he didn't understand anything.
They don't want us to exist. He's like, well, it's crazy. That's like World War II.
And while the protest was painful, it was a reminder of what gay families face every day. It was Kelly who advised Rosie to stay on the boat that day because they both knew that Rosie would sound off.
So tell Rosie O'Donnell, take her madness, take her filth elsewhere.
Oh, I just think it's a good Ro didn't get off.
Oh, no.
She would be up there fighting for the microphone.
Rosie told me if it weren't for Kelly, her life would be total chaos. We caught up with Kelly, who rarely gives interviews, at the premiere of the documentary.
Do you expect to make some people angry with this documentary?
I think you can't do anything where it involves gay people or gay families where you're not going to make some people angry. But I also think that it's a different way to look at us.
Did that do the trick?
That's new. I never needed to put him stretched out. It's amazing.
It seemed to work.
You gotta keep up with it. Oh, yeah.
In the movie, you just look at all these families just as families, and I think that that's the most touching thing about it. That all of a sudden, whether it's 2 men or 2 women or, a single parent or whatever it is that's raising the child, all of a sudden it doesn't matter. You see a connection that happened on, you see how beautiful these families are.
Dancing cheek to cheek.
All aboard was a labor of love for the O'Donnells. But for Rosie, it was more. For Rosie, it was life-changing.
I was asked at one of the press screenings, are you going to raise your children to be gay? And I thought no more than I could raise them to be tall. You can't raise someone to be gay. You can't raise someone to have blue eyes. Now, you can wear contacts your whole life if you have brown eyes, if your desire for blue eyes is that big. But at some point, you're going to have to take them out and let your eyes rest and be who you are. And the fact that you have brown eyes has to one day be all right. And it became all right for me through this cruise in a way that I hadn't anticipated.